What's going on, podcasters and YouTubers? This is Hav here, one of your hosts from the Real Fan Review. Today with me, we got our man in the chair, Al.
How's it going, everybody?
We got my brother, your brother, B.
What's up, everyone?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. What's up, everybody? Listen, guys, this week, not a lot of movie news, man. Just movie talking and, some shows coming up this week that are pretty interesting. So, what we're going to do is we're going to get you guys ready for Loki. We have the little prep that we normally do for those big Marvel shows or Marvel movies and some big movies. But we'll do a prep for Loki coming up this week, which is going to include Thor and Avengers, the very first one. We're going to talk about The Conjuring 3, our thoughts, our review of on The Conjuring there. We'll give you a spoiler-free and a spoiler version of our thoughts. And then last but not least, we are at the halfway point of 2021. Unbelievable. We're in June. 6 months into 2021, so we'll give you some of the best movies we've seen, some of the worst movies we've seen, and maybe some other interesting stuff that we've loved from the first half of 2021 so far. So first and foremost, let's get right into the major information we have to give you for Loki. Because Loki, I am understanding, is incredible. There's a lot of reviews already coming out today, and it's just stating that it's just going to be incredible to watch. So, I mean, just really quick, Al, what's your thoughts on Loki and Tom Hiddleston playing Loki? Is he a favorite characters of yours? Is there any scene that stands out with Loki that you always think about?
Not that I want to say he's my favorite character, but he's definitely a character that I'm glad is in the MCU. Like he's that antagonist, like we were mentioning last week, the anti-hero, so to speak, of the group. He brought to the MCU what I think, oh man, what's his name? Deadpool is going to bring.
Oh, gotcha.
But just
Ryan
not
Reynolds?
just not as on that extreme level. So I'm glad that they bring that kind of character in to be the troublemaker, the smartass of the group, and keep that part of it going. He's going to be that rebellion to Thor's straight and narrow. So yeah, I'm glad of him as a character being in the MCU. And my favorite scene with him has to be when Hulk grabbed him and just started just smashing him all over the place. And the scene just zooms in on him, and he's like,
puny god. Puny god. Brandon, how about yourself, man? Tom Hiddleston and him playing Loki. What's your thoughts on the character and the actor playing him?
I think it's a perfect fit. When I heard that Tom Hiddleston had also gone out for the role of Thor, I laughed a little bit at, who we got as Thor. I'm trying to imagine that first scene in Thor when Chris Hemsworth goes to pull Mjolnir in the middle of Mexico, and they have that outrageous bicep scene, like where he's like trying to lift the hammer.
Yeah.
I think about it, and I try and put Tom Hiddleston in that scene, and I'm just like, nah, it don't work like that.
Nah.
It don't work like that. But I think he's great.
Man.
Loki, I don't know, for me, like I never was really keen in on like funny characters. I don't know why. Like, it takes me a little bit to get on board with like the snippy funny character. And like Loki, he really grew on me. From Thor 1, like I was like, oh, he was good. And then he was in Thor 2. I'm like, oh, he was good there too. Him in Avengers, I'm like, oh, this guy's, he's in everything. I'm like, this guy's in all the movies. And then, like by Thor Ragnarok, I had loved Loki. Like, I'm like, this guy's great. I was like, I love Loki. But like, he had to grow on me, and I'm just like, this motherfucker's in every movie.
Yeah, man, I gotta tell you, man, I didn't expect it. I didn't expect him to be in so many movies. But
yeah.
Go ahead, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, like, I think my favorite is Loki and Thor Ragnarok. Like, just the way. I think the way Taika Waititi like let everybody kind of open up to play the role how they wanted to, like Chris Hemsworth allowing to be funny as Thor, I think by letting them open up more allowed them to be even better in the role. So I love Loki and Thor Ragnarok more than anything.
Yeah, man. I gotta say Tom Hiddleston is knocking it out the park as Loki because my memory of Loki was this like stupid, goofy looking character in comics. So to see it put into TV screens and movie theaters, I didn't expect that character to be where he is now as far as like getting his own show, how many movies he's been in. And as the movies keep going and going, I can't wait to see Loki now in these movies. One of my favorite scenes with Loki is actually the beginning of Infinity War, where it's his kind of his death scene, right? And it's funny because to me, the whole path, because I remember before watching Infinity War, I had watched every movie that led up to it. So I was kind of like right there, versed in everything that happened in the MCU. And to hear him go Odin's son and look down, like he was like, for the first time, acknowledging that he is the son of Odin was actually very like moving, touching. I was like, oh shoot, wow. He called himself Odin's son. That's one of my most memorable scenes with Loki there. To guys, everybody ready for this Loki show that's starting on Wednesday. Brandon was right, June 9th. I told him June 7th, but June 9th is Wednesday. So it's going to be on DisneyPlus there. And it's pretty much the story of not the Loki that was Odin's son, not the Loki that's been redeemed, not the Loki from Ragnarok. Shoot, not the Loki from Dark World. This is the Loki that was burdened with glorious purpose from the beginning of Avengers. This is angry Loki. This is Loki who's still trying to get his, trying to conquer the world Loki from Avengers, the first one there. So I mean, let's get everybody ready for that. I mean, Brandon, if you remember mostly from Thor, the first one, we pretty much just got a story of how Loki came to be. We found out that Loki wasn't Odin's son necessarily. He was actually a frost giant, I believe.
Yeah. In that movie, that introduction to Loki was cool because he was kind of seemed as, not only was he the trickster, but he wasn't as serious. Like, if you know the comics, Loki. But it didn't like poise the movie to be like Loki was the strong one. Loki could do anything to anything, but just the way he manipulated Thor, the way he manipulated other people around Thor, to make all these events happen, just so that way he can find himself on the throne. Like that was cool in the way that he had put himself out there. Even though most of Thor 1 you spent following Thor trying to find his worthiness again, and get the explanation of what science is and how that works with magic. Loki behind the scenes in that movie really set the tone for what we could expect in the MCU and kind of a different kind of concept, because we've been realmed in Earth for so long at this point. So you get a character who's like cosmic bound, he's a god of sorts, and he's angry because he wants more, he wants the throne, he wants the rule. And you had that plot line before. So for Loki to be the main villain of Thor 1, you don't see it at first, but then it all makes sense. And it's a cool thing when we get to the end, when we get to the Bifrost Gate, and they're just going against each other on that bridge.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I think one of the things that I remember most about that movie is seeing how hurt Loki really was, though. Behind the mischief and all the stuff that he was trying to do, he truly was just hurt because he wanted to be the king, or acknowledged as the rightful, I guess the rightful person to go into the crown after Odin was either pass or anything. It was just seemed like everything was going to go to Thor no matter what. And I guess he was just fighting against that. But I think some of the best parts of that thing was like his conversation with Odin, his conversations with Thor, the fight on the Bifrost Bridge there, and the ending of him letting go of the spear, because rather than admitting he was wrong or that he messed up, he let go and just fell into the abyss. And God knows where we would see Loki next. Is there anything for you, Al, that's memorable or that you really liked about Thor for the first one with Loki?
Just the way that they showed that, kind of like with a lot of people that resort to humor or joking around, or being with that kind of personality, there is sometimes like hurt or pain that's below it that they're hiding. And to see that that was the case here, and have them develop it in a way that wasn't slighting the condition, like where we felt like, oh, he's really upset about that. Like you could kind of relate and understand why, living in the shadow of Thor all those years, not feeling like you were being loved, and then to find out that your reason for doubting that you were loved may be based in the fact that you really weren't the son.
Right.
So I thought I mean, for as much of it as, being that it's a comic book character and it's not cinema and everything, like I said, if you really just take the concept and the story for what it is and take it out, that is, something that you can relate to. If you were saying, what if I found out that I really wasn't a true part of this family, and all my doubts as to whether I was truly loved and respected and valued, may have some foundation in truth, like maybe I'm not that off.
Right.
And then, and the way he would use that pain to try to bring pain out of others by making them look at stuff that maybe they weren't trying to look at. It added something to the Loki character that made me want to see, where was he coming from with all of that?
Yeah.
Because he was in the end, he was really just trying to make himself feel better. And unfortunately, it was at the expense of others. But to me, he was just trying to fill that void that he felt, from, I guess, for a good part of these movies, not feeling like he had a real family.
Yeah.
And then that's why, like you said, eventually he got redeemed. He and Thor became one, good brothers. And he recognized himself as the son of Odin. But for the longest time, it was a journey, and watching that story develop was over the series of movies was good to see. So it'll be interesting now for this series, like you said, we're seeing the Loki that was still trying to prove something and prove it in a bad way. So it'll be interesting to see him play those tricks that he was playing then throughout the show, because I'm sure him and what's his name?
Owen Wilson, I think it is, or
Wilson.
Owen.
I'm sure there's going to be a lot of back and forth there. So I'm anticipating that comedy going back and forth between the two of them. So I'm anticipating a lot of action and a lot of comedy here in this show.
Absolutely, man. Brandon, what's your thoughts on him turning blue during this series at one point? Because he hasn't turned blue since Thor, right?
That's the first one. Yeah, he hasn't turned blue since. I don't think he's gonna turn blue. I think, I think this show is gonna do a good job in bringing Loki to where we had Loki last as fast as it can.
Right.
Like I feel like there was a lot of character building with that Loki, and then for them to start over with this Loki, while they can take this in any direction, I feel like they were very happy with the characterization that was brought to him. I feel like they're gonna find a way to get that back fast in this show, so that way there's a chance for him to meet up with Thor and they have something.
Gotcha, man.
Mm-hmm.
And then Al, after this movie, I mean, there is, just to be, up with our fans here, there was a post-credit scene in the Captain America First Avenger at the end of the movie to kind of lead into the Avengers. Was a post-credit scene where it looked like Loki took over. I believe it was Professor Selvig, that he kind of like was either in him or him. It was weird the way they did it, but he was looking at the Tesseract in the suitcase there as Loki, and then it kind of cut off. So you kind of knew that Loki would show up later on again, even though we hadn't seen him in a couple, like I think one or two movies before that. And we get to Al. I remember seeing this movie in Connecticut with you. Actually, we met up somewhere in between Connecticut and New York to see it, and we saw Avengers out there, and that's when our boy Loki came back. And this is quite possibly, if not like tied with The Dark Knight, like right below The Dark Knight, as probably one of the best comic book movies ever, with even Infinity War and Endgame and all that stuff. But for a long time, it was Dark Knight Avengers, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, with Avengers, Al, what was your thoughts there with seeing Loki come back in and be more forceful, it's just more terrorizing?
Yeah, no, it just brought the story to another level, because he had been more of like a secondhand character to me, the way they treated him. He was like, okay, he was a character that was moving the plot along. Like, oh, he's Thor's brother. This is the antagonism behind Thor. It was more of a device to develop Thor. But now by making him the main bad guy, it to me, it elevated his character. He no longer was that background character, so to speak. Um, so I'm glad because it gave us the character we have today. A lot of times they don't develop a character, especially when you're having a long series like this. You'll have characters that have potential, but they don't give them a backstory, or they don't develop them, or they don't give them the screen time that they deserve sometimes, especially with the actor putting in the performance that they are. And in here, they did. They recognized what they had, they recognized the potential, and they brought them to the front. And to do it the way he did, like he almost, I think, is there a what if where he actually wins New York, or is there was something where he I think they showed us a clip of what it looked like.
Well, there may be in the series, this Loki series, maybe if they do like multiverse kind of stuff, or there may be a thing where he actually ends up winning the Battle of New York.
Yeah.
It's that, or there may be a what if series that's coming in the what if series that's coming out later on this summer.
So yeah, because so it showed he was really like, this wasn't I'm trying to prove myself again. Like he was really gonna go forward with this. So it just shows how twisted hurt and pain you really can make a person get, like that he was willing to go to this extreme because of that.
Yeah, man. And one of the first scenes, Brandon, that I remember seeing the difference in this Loki versus the one from Thor was the scene where he went to take the eyeball out of the the person in the museum to get the password or the code to get whatever the mineral was that Hawkeye needed. But I remember the crowd, he made them all kneel. He's like, doesn't this feel better? Doesn't this feel better?
He was so suave, like in the way like he just worked everything in the beginning of the movie. Just even as he was meeting the Avengers, like he didn't give a shit about Captain America showing up. He didn't give a shit about Iron Man. Like he was like, "What are you gonna do?" He was so badass. Like I think they did a good job in setting Loki up as a good bad guy in the movie. Because like before the movie, you didn't believe Loki could be the bad guy. Like after we saw him Thor, like if Thor can take him out by himself, like how can Loki take on all these guys? So like there was, I'll be honest and say I didn't have any faith in Avengers because of Loki. Like I thought something else had to happen, and he was just the one they put in the trailer. But like to see the way they build him up in the movie as he meets each Avenger, like it was just pretty cool. Like I was very impressed with how they did that.
Yeah, right. It was like mind games the entire time. Yeah, right. You were the guys who brought the monster on the board.
Yeah. And the way he let them think that they were in control when really they were doing everything he wanted them to do.
Right.
Including bringing the Hulk on board, gathering everybody on that ship so that he can get what he needed, and then have the Hulk release and destroy everything. So yeah.
Yeah, man. I remember Captain America saying, "Why does it feel like he's the only one that wants to be here?"
Yeah, I love that line.
Yeah, it's insane, man. Avengers is a classic, man. I could rewatch that movie all over. I have to say, I think Avengers is probably one of the most rewatchable movies of the MCU besides Infinity War. And I think Infinity War is right there at number one. Endgame's a little long and a little bit deep, but just to rewatch for fun, Infinity War and Avengers Part 1, man, absolutely. But as for Loki, man, I mean, look, in the rest of that movie there, that's when he goes after the Tesseract and to open up the portal for the Chitauri soldiers to come down from space. And they come in and we get the fantastic New York battle in New York there. It's just absolutely incredible, that scene. I think I saw that movie like 4 times in the theater when it first came out because of how incredible the entire thing was. And again, a big reason of that was because of Loki. So now, Al, we're going to jump way past Thor: The Dark World. We're going to jump past Infinity War. And we're going to go to Endgame because that's how we get to the next part of the Loki that we're going to see today.
Yeah.
So Endgame shows us a different angle of things. They show us the Avengers posing.
Man. It just shows you like what your heroes do when not everybody is always on the up and everything. The way they make Hulk go down the stairs and everything. Even so, Like even at the end of the movie,
like stairs.
yeah. So it was just a funny thing to see the angle there that way, and watch that whole scene play out from a different angle, and then you see how it causes the interaction with Loki, and like you said, and how that creates this series.
Absolutely, man. And Hulk smashes. I think it's Tony who's in the like a SWAT gear or one of the gears from Shield, and he had the Tesseract in the
The
suitcase there.
yeah.
It flies open, slides towards Loki. Loki looks both ways, grabs it, and disappears. And right there, I know. I think it was Brandon was sitting right next to me. He was just like, "Oh, okay, Loki's still alive." That's how Loki's still alive. There you go.
I was like, oh, he's getting a show. This guy's getting a show.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I know MCU is known for like, the characters dying off, but they're still coming back. But I think, Brandon, you're okay with this one.
I'm okay with this one. I like a lot of movies and heroes and certain aspects of things. I get very like iffy on certain things. Like I was like, okay, they're gonna overuse Loki. Like they're gonna know that fans love Loki, so they're just gonna keep bombing this guy into everything, and it's gonna make me sick. Like like I was like, don't do this to the guy. Like he's a great actor. Don't kill him. Like so. I had my fear at first that they were gonna overdo it with the Loki, but I think that with this show, I think they're gonna do it right. I think they're gonna set it in the right path for Loki as a character, and the possibility of Loki coming back into the MCU fold somewhere down the line. Like I know that with Love and Thunder, there's a chance Loki can show up into that. Maybe that'll be his last movie, or maybe there's a chance for Loki down the line with something else should anybody want to come back. So like I'm interested to see how this may set up a future storyline for Loki.
Yeah, and I know, Al, you're super big on if you're gonna do it, at least make it make sense.
Yeah.
So for you, did this work the way that they did it, where Loki's still alive in the MCU?
Yeah, because it threw a little wrench into Endgame, because if this Tesseract disappears, and now goes into a different timeline, so what happened with the Tesseract that Thanos destroyed? So now,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? So now if Loki is running around with this Tesseract,
You stop that, Al. You stop it right now.
you know what I'm saying? Like,
we're not doing that.
how did Thanos then get to destroy that Tesseract? So whatever. I'm not, but to your point, like it makes sense because okay, he escaped with the Tesseract, and then they just went back for an older one, but it still doesn't negate the fact. Because remember, Captain America went back and put everything back to where he took it from, so it still allows that timeline to be there for those events. But now, what are they doing? What it looks like it's doing is, remember the the elder or the ancient one. She said that that was going to cause a rift. So, and all these ripples. So it looks like that's what the premise of this show might be. It might be Loki fixing all the rifts that he's created. So it'll be interesting to see that, because it'll give us a different play out of all the scenes we've seen, all the different realities we might have seen play out throughout the movies based on different events going a different direction than they did in the original movies. So it'll be, and then we're seeing it from Loki's point of view. So it'll even put more of a twist on the show and the events. So it'll be something to see how they play it out and how they use that to, like what Brandon said. I think in the end we're still going to get a redeemed Loki, but it'll be interesting to see how these events and seeing what his actions caused, how they turn him throughout the show.
Yeah, man, I'm interested to see what they do, because I'm not sure if it's something multiverse kind of thing or is it a timeline type of thing. Because again, like you said, the ancient ones set the kind of the rules for it. If you take something out of that time period, it ruins that time period, right? So where the other person's time period keeps going as it normally did, the one where that mistake just happened created another timeline. So it's messing up everything. And then, as you can see in the previews for Loki, they talk about the sacred timeline there. So you're wondering, like, oh, did he messed up something for everybody? So it's just it's going to be kind of crazy. From the trailer, you can see that he's all over the place. There's a scene where he's one of these, like, there's like this, like, big long time mystery. I forgot the guy's name. I think it's JB something.
Oh yeah, the guy that jumped out the plane.
Right, the guy who jumps out of plane, and he has, like, there you go, Cooper, and it looks like Loki's somehow playing him. So I'm like, is this like some quantum leap type thing, or that's one of my old classics. Yeah, right, because he got sucked up by the freaking the Asgardian travel thing. I forgot what it's called, but the Bifrost.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's gonna be very interesting to see. And guys, feel free to come back to us every week when these shows come out. I believe it's gonna be 6 episodes of Loki. So every Wednesday is gonna come out. That means we're gonna talk about it every Sunday or Monday. And we'll put the podcast up on our podcasting apps, and then it comes on YouTube after that. So if you're not a subscriber, subscribe below or hit that little plus symbol on your podcasting apps for our podcast, The Real Fan Review. And that way you'll be up to date with us and what we think of Loki, and also have a good time while we're doing it. So, guys, again, Loki's going to be coming out this Wednesday. It's going to be amazing. I'm looking forward to it, man. I can't wait to see this thing. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about this week, guys, is on Friday night, The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It came out. And we were all looking forward to this movie, man.
Oh, yeah.
We were looking forward since we knew this movie was going to come out. We were looking forward. We wanted a trailer. The trailer came out. We were like, Brandon, don't ruin it. See, guys, Brandon has this thing with HBO Max. So we're going to talk about it. But let's go really quick. A non-spoiler review for the people who have not seen it. We'll keep it simple and quick, and then we'll go ahead and destroy it or give its due rights. So, Brandon, really quick, with your 2 thumbs down already on the camera, what was your non-spoiler review of The Devil Made Me Do It?
It was just okay. Like, if you're a fan of The Conjuring, you're gonna like the movie in terms of the fact that it's a Conjuring movie. I'm gonna leave off with the old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And yep.
Yep, they try to fix it. All right. Al, man, how about you, man? What was your thoughts on The Conjuring?
It was a good effort. I mean, it's not as scary as the original 2. Right. I think the 2 main actors, Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, they turn in, good roles, good jobs in terms of playing the characters. I don't feel like they changed the characters. I think they just developed them a little bit more. The movie goes a little bit more into their history as a couple. So I thought that was a good twist in terms of filling time and dialogue, so to speak, in the movie.
Right.
But I think everybody likes The Conjuring because of the fear, and this movie did a good job of building up, but I don't feel like there was a lot of things to be scared of.
Right.
It came off more of a drama than a horror movie. So in that sense, I was disappointed.
Brandon is all over that. He's like, yeah, that's it right there.
That was a TV novella for a little bit.
TV novella. Oh, man. Listen, for me, The Conjuring 3, I actually liked it. I thought it was good. I don't think it was great. I don't think it was a scary movie like that, like I thought it would be. But at the same time, it was cool to see. I did enjoy watching the movie. I'll just say this. It was easy to go to sleep that night. When I saw Conjuring 1, it took a little bit of time to go to sleep. I had to double check everything, do a prayer, burn some candles, apologize to God for watching The Conjuring 1. I said, I know you didn't want me to see that, Lord, but I had to. I love movies. But yeah, this one I didn't have to apologize to anybody. It was okay. But the thing that made it good for me is, like what you guys were saying, it's continuing the franchise, seeing these older characters that we've been watching to movies. It actually appeared in other movies as well. it was okay. It was a good movie. It just wasn't a scary movie. And unfortunately, The Conjuring is supposed to be a horror movie. So
Yeah.
for that, I can see why
They didn't know.
you know.
They didn't know. They found out.
That's why Brandon. All right, sorry guys about the glitching there. Looks like my Wi-Fi just kind of rebooted itself there. What I was gonna say was I agree with Brandon that it was just an okay movie, but it needs to be more than okay for a horror movie. It has to be scary, and it wasn't scary. It was okay. There's a few moments in there where you were like, oh shoot, like the beginning of the movie, but it should have been better. It should have been more scarier. So I'm gonna say for you guys, you should see it because there's not a lot of good movies out there. Um, this is something to watch. It's on HBO Max. Just watch it at home and stuff.
Yeah.
But real quick though, Al, do you think that if it was in the theaters, it would have made a difference for you?
Maybe on
Maybe a
some
little
of the
different. How
scenes.
about you, Brandon?
On some of the scenes.
I think with the sound effects from the Dolby, the Dolby player, Dolby Atmos, Dolby Atmos, I feel like
Right.
that would have added some atmosphere, especially to the beginning.
Right.
When everything was going down. I think in the middle of the movie there was a couple scenes where the atmosphere would have changed a little bit, but in
Right.
terms of story, I don't think it would have helped that much in terms of story. Just on feeling.
Yeah.
Gotcha, man. So listen, I'm gonna say you guys you should still see it. Not need to, but you should see it. Al, how about yourself?
Yeah, same thing. You have to. I mean, it's the continuation of a very good franchise so far. There's a lot of good nods if you're into that universe. There's a lot of good Easter eggs. There's a lot of references to the rest of the universe in the movie. Just seeing them, will make you enjoy the movie a little bit better. So yeah, definitely, I would. It's a should see.
And how about you, Brandon? Man, don't rush, or you should see it.
You know what? I would honestly say you should see it. Just for the fact, like, this is the conclusion of a trilogy, as they stated. So, I, as someone who has loved the Conjuring series, I love the universe that it's building, and I know this is the end of this point of the series, so that makes me a little sad. But if you are a fan like us of the series of the Conjuring, definitely see it. Finish off the trilogy. You can make up your own mind about the movie at in the end of it. But I think you should see it.
Absolutely, man. And listen, guys, that's going to be our non-spoiler review. So from here going forward on this review, you could always skip past the review and go to the next one. Al does a great job on the bottom of splitting up the video there. So you could jump to the next topic, which will be the halfway point for 2021. But we're going to go into spoilers right now. So if you haven't seen the movie and you want to go into the spoilers, why don't you pause us, go watch the movie, come back to us and watch the spoilers with us. And that way we can do this and you can enjoy it at the same time. So let's start off with the spoilers version of this. I'm going to tell you guys that first 10 minutes of this movie was actually kind of terrifying.
It was the best 10 minutes of the whole movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. That first 10 minutes was like, I was like, is this what this movie's going to be like? Because I'm not going to be able to do this. Like,
like right up until the murder, I was like, this is crazy. Like, all right. And I'm like, all right, where do we go from here? Nowhere.
Nowhere.
And I freaking called it, man.
HBO Max.
Like, we were talking about a couple weeks ago, and I had said, I'm like, what? I know the court case. I was like, and there's not a lot to it. Like it was pretty plain and simple. It was like, it's a cool concept, and I was like, but I just don't know where they were gonna go from there with it. I ain't going nowhere with it.
Yeah.
They don't go nowhere. Like I appreciate the story that they were trying to tell in the mist, but I feel like that by telling the story of them and making it the central story of the movie took away from the whole part of why we're supposed to be focusing on this. Like it kind of took like the devil made me do it trial and kind of put it on the afterburner. Like, even though they were still doing things for it to help find evidence and such, like it felt as if we were more focusing on these guys trying to figure out the root of a problem instead of focusing on this, where this could have been like, it just didn't seem like there wasn't enough story in this to make it all connect and make sense.
It
it was a cool concept, but
I think, Al, what they were trying to do, though, honestly, because think about it this way: had they gone after, like, I thought they were going to continue on with the trial people, right? I didn't know
Mhm.
about the whole side mission to find these other people who had a similar, situation happen to them. So I thought it was going to be all about the trial, but then it would have been the same thing as Conjuring 1 and also the same thing as Conjuring 2, stuck inside of a house with a haunting. So I think that's why they try to change up the formula a little bit there, like you guys were, hinting at before.
Mhm.
But how about you, Al? What did you end up liking about it, and what didn't you like about it?
I like the furthering the story of them as a couple. I thought that was a good nod as to show how a couple, I mean, because they deal with some ugly stuff,
Yeah,
so for a couple to make it through that and always come through strong, if not stronger, of a bond, that means that there had to have been some good foundation there to begin with. So to see that and to see what they were building upon and starting from, I thought it was a good, a good addition to the story to give us of them. But in doing so, there wasn't a lot of like drama. There was no fear in a lot of stuff. Like they could have done a lot of the scenes with like the acting out of the scene in the woods when she was helping out the cop from the other town, and
right.
you see them reenacting the murders. Like that could have been. I mean, it's a horror movie. You can get a little more gory and nasty and mysterious with it. Show
Right.
get a little bit more involved with the main villain. I forget her name, the Satanist that was doing all this.
Yeah.
Um, go a little bit more into her story. Why did she get into this religion?
Yes.
What made her go? Other than the fact that the father studied it, what made her go down? How did she become such a powerful
Witch,
Satanist?
basically.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
Satanist. Yeah.
why was she offering her soul to this demon in order to? Was she seeking more power? What was her motivate? Like we don't really get what her motivation for casting these spells were. So
Mm-hmm.
like there was a lot that it didn't answer for me, um, and without even causing a lot of fear. I mean, there was a lot of jump scares, but
Mm-hmm.
and there was a lot of build up. Like that last scene in the basement. They cut it. There was a good reference to, from what I understand, there was a cut scene from the preview where that scene where she sees herself in front of her. That was supposed to be more involved. And so there
Right.
was supposed to be more to the scene, which I thought would have added to it. Like, give me the fear, give me more of this.
Right.
Like they tried to focus more of it being a story than this is a horror show movie. And
Right.
I wanted horror. I wanted to walk, like you said, I wanted to walk out scared and have a reason to turn the lights on. And I didn't. I was able to walk to my house with all the lights off, no problem. No,
Yeah.
no bumping made me jump. Like, so, and meanwhile, you want to leave a movie like this and, have to turn your light on every time you walk
Yeah.
into the hallway.
It's funny you
Dude,
say that
you
because
go ahead.
at first I thought it wasn't that scary, right? I was just like, I turned the movie off. I was like, nah, that was nothing. And I have Ring, so like if wind blows, it goes off the ring sometimes. So I'm sitting there thinking like, that was nothing, and it's just a ring. I was like, whoa. so so maybe I was a little scared, right? Just
Yeah,
a little bit.
this movie tried to have us believe that they were like in their 60s, man. And dude, I can't even lie that there was the one scene like after he had the heart attack and he came home and they
Yeah.
showed that he forgot the pill on the counter. I was like, oh shit, his pill. And I'm like, wait, that's that what? I was like, I was like, that's the piece of the movie that I'm supposed to get like worried about. Like he forgot his fucking pills at home. He forgot his fucking heart meds. Ah, shit.
Yeah.
His blood pressure meds are at home on the counter. Fuck, they're gonna get him.
Yeah, and
Fuck,
they made it like you said, they made it sound like they were old. Like they were
dude, they made it seem
17 in the
so old.
flashback. And then she
Dude,
says it's 30 years. So they're in their late
they made them,
40s.
Yeah,
dude, they
late
made them look
40s.
so old, and I'm like, wait, how old are they supposed to be? And I'm like, they look so old, but they look like they're in their maybe like 40s. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Like, especially like when they were in the forest and he's got the cane and he's hobbling a little bit. I'm like, damn, are they like 65 in this? Because they don't
Wait,
look it. Like,
wait. That's that scene made me laugh for the wrong reason. Because to your point, she's out there running. He's chasing after her, crippled with a cane and a heart condition.
he ran past the cop.
And the cop got there like half hour later, out of breath, has a breath on both his knees. I'm like, what is going on?
Oh my God. Such craziness. But you know, it's crazy because like it to me they had a good concept going with this like whole like witch versus witch kind of thing, and you know the Satanist. And to be real with you, that the ex priest was kind of creepy. There was a couple of scenes where like half his face was in the dark. I was
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, is he alive? Like, you know. But then I heard his story too about why he became an ex-priest, and I'm like, yo, dude, I'm interested in that story right there. Which I think what they're trying to do, you know, is probably like hint at this story, and he'll come out with his own movie, like you know, next year or 2 years from now.
Yeah.
But you know, there was so much potential for more though. Like even in the scene where she was under the house looking for the totem or the other piece of why the kid's room was haunted. I was like, you know, they had all the rats down there and the mice and stuff like that, but I thought there was gonna be like something behind her,
Yeah.
something come crawling to her. Nah, she just, you know, moved it over and got scared. And I was like, oh, come on, there's more potential for something.
Yeah, right. There was so much potential in that scene alone.
Yeah. And another thing, I don't know if you guys agree with this, but weren't all the jump scares predictable? Like
Yeah.
there was either a music tone or they kind of like moved the camera slow, and I'm like, really? That's
Yeah.
jump scares coming? Like,
They were just it seemed like the only actual scares were in the beginning of the movie when it wasn't focused on the Warrens. And then like from that point on, like the only thing that really got me was when the girls ran from the tree after the hand disappeared. Like
yeah,
just because the way they did it, like I was like, oh shit, that was quick. Like like
yeah.
that got me. But everything else was so predictable, and like
Mhm,
it just didn't have any effect to it. That I was
Mhm.
like, wait, was that supposed to be a scare? Like that's supposed to creep me out?
mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
Like they kept using that one dead body,
Oh, the
that
big
big
guy?
dead body. Yeah, they kept
Yes.
using him, and I'm like,
Yeah.
is it supposed to mean something? Like they keep using this one guy, or they just can't afford another body? Like, like was he supposed to be creepy or a demon? Like I was like, I didn't get why they kept using him, and I'm
Right.
like, not that creepy. Like he just looks weird. Like, like it was just like it kind of like they kept setting up a mark and then kept missing the mark.
Man.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. How about you, Al, man? Any last thoughts on the Conjuring 3 there?
I mean, I hope this isn't the last one because they have a room full of stories that they can keep telling. And
Mhm.
this is a universe where they don't have to stop. I thought there was going to be a Thin Man movie. I would have liked to
Me
have seen
too.
that. Seen that one. That one looked like that had a good potential for being real scary.
Mhm.
Um, and just to see what else they can do. I hope they don't leave it with this. I hope they continue it, so to speak. I hate to use this word, but kind of redeem themselves because, like, after Conjuring 2, especially, like, I was really expecting to be scared in this
Yeah.
movie. So I want another scary movie from them. So hopefully they come out, they use one of these other trinkets that are in the room and give us the story on that, and we can get another scary movie out of them.
Absolutely, man. Brandon, how about you, man? Last thoughts on it?
I agree. I think there's a lot of potential. I mean, we've been shown multiple times that there are so many things in this room, and we've heard, from the samurai armor to the coin, to all the other things in that room. We've heard about a little bit in a place where they could, like, at any point to drop it down, like, let's do a movie on that. Like, so I'm
Right.
hoping that while this may be the end of a Warren Central story, they showed up in the
Mhm.
last Annabelle. In that
Mhm.
last Annabelle movie, it was about them, even though it wasn't The Conjuring. So I'm hoping while this might be the end of their base story, I hope that this also allows for the universe to build with other demons or creatures or monsters or whatever. I want to see what else they
Yeah.
can do because there was so much potential in that Annabelle movie for all the different things they showed. I want to see a movie about half of those things.
Yeah, man. Absolutely, man. Yeah, and shout out to Annabelle for showing up in the movie again in the background and scaring the shit out of the lawyer to let them
uh,
to let them put the case on, even though we
Dude, the
didn't see
nun
what
painting,
the nun.
the
Yeah.
nun
that
painting was
that
there.
shit
Yeah.
creeped the shit out of me when it showed up. That was the one creepy part of the movie for me was the goddamn nun painting in the background.
Yeah. And I thought that was cool that they kept it framed right so that you could always see it no matter how they pan through the scene. That was a
Yeah.
good job. Yeah.
And some good stuff in there, man.
Yeah. And
But
they had a
I
good
agree. Yeah, go for it.
no, I was just gonna say they had a couple of good nods to other movies. Like I caught when the priest gets out of the car and he looks up at the house, like I immediately thought of The
Exorcist.
Exorcist.
Uh-huh.
But I was hearing, references to other movies, like for example, The Shining, when the husband is dragging that sledgehammer through the bottom and he's limping along. I didn't
Uh-huh.
catch that as a reference to The Shining, but that would actually once I heard it, I was like, oh shit, yeah, that is, yeah.
Yeah, a
So there
little
was a couple
homages
of
to
nods, not
everything.
only to their own movies, but to other classic horror movies. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I listen. I haven't lost faith in The Conjuring. Like I said, it was a good movie because I thought the story was interesting. It wasn't like I was sitting there going, "This is so boring." I was just sitting there going, "This is not scary. It's good, but it's not scary."
Yeah.
Because at least the story was cohesive. It made sense. Everything, followed the trajectory. It was good, man. It was pretty
Yeah.
good. It could have been better as a horror movie, but it was all
HBO Max strikes again.
right. Listen, Brandon, is it In the Heights HBO Max?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay,
let's
we'll see.
let's wait till
In,
it comes out.
in the Heights for this week. That's it. We're gonna
I'm
cross
getting
our fingers.
excited, but HBO Max has been slowly letting me down.
I hear you, man. So just out of my own curiosity, you guys, we've watched a lot of these Conjuring movies. If you could guys just give me like your top three of the Conjuring universe. We're talking La Llorona, we're talking Annabelle Comes Home, Annabelle First. What's the first? I forgot what the name of the other movie was.
Annabelle Creation.
Creation. There we go. We also have
None.
the Nun in there. So
Yeah.
like, what's your top three or your three best movies? Not even any order specific, but what's the best three for you?
Conjuring 2, The Nun. I actually like The Nun.
Oh
I
wow.
know I know a lot of people pan it, but I actually enjoyed The Nun. And then Annabelle.
Yeah. How
Yeah.
about you, Brandon? What's like some of your best ones for the Conjuring universe?
I would say Conjuring 2, and Annabelle Comes Home.
Wow. So for me, it's gonna be Conjuring 1, Conjuring 2, and then I'm not sure which Annabelle it is, but it's the one with the little girls that were staying in the home for like a foster care.
Oh,
Is
that's
that
Creation.
that's Creation? Yeah, that one
Mhm.
was pretty like crazy. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
Annabelle is something else.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
man. Well, listen, if you guys are watching on YouTube or you're listening on your podcasting app, man, why don't you guys let us know what's your favorite movies in the Conjuring universe? Whether if you're on YouTube, put in the comment section, let us know your three favorite movies in the Conjuring universe. And if you're listening to us on your regular podcasting apps there, email us at therealfanreview@gmail.com just to let us know your three favorite Conjuring movies. All right, guys. The last thing we're going to talk about today, guys, is actually, this is like the halfway point right now for 2021. We're in June right now, June 7th, I believe today is.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about all the movies we've seen so far, and it's definitely been a lot less than I've normally seen on a normal year. But this seems to be the way it's been with this whole COVID situation going on. Hopefully, it looks like we're out of it. We're coming out of it at the least. But
Mhm.
wanted to see what your guys' take is on like what's the probably like the best thing you've seen this year and the worst thing you've seen this year. And I'll kind of lead you guys off over here because for me the best thing that I've seen so far this year has to be A Quiet Place Part Two. I'm just keep thinking about the movie. I desperately want to see it again, whether it's comes on video on demand or I end up going to the movie theaters to go catch it again. But A Quiet Place Part Two was absolutely amazing. The worst thing I've seen this year, and I will tell you guys, don't watch it. Gouge your eyes out. Watch paint dry. Is Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar? Holy shit, that was so bad.
That don't sound good.
It
Yeah.
don't. It
That
don't,
don't
but I
even
thought it
sound
was
good.
going to be good because Kristen Wiig was in it, but it's just so god
Man.
awful. Oh man, Brandon, how about you, man? What's your best of 2021 so far, and what's probably the worst thing you've seen this year so far?
Best thing of 2021, I would have to say Quiet Place Part 2, hands down. You know, there's a reason why we saw it in the theaters.
Yeah.
Worst thing I saw was, the Little Things. That was the first movie on HBO
Oh, the
Max.
little things with Denzel Washington, Rami
Yeah,
Malek.
that was by far the worst thing I've seen this year. That shit was terrible. I'm still telling people not to watch it.
How about you, man? What's some of the best and what's one of the worst things you've seen this year?
Well, I haven't seen Quiet Place 2 yet, so I can't say that. So I'm just
Okay.
going to say the movie that I got to see and it was able to enjoy because of how much I was looking forward to it would be Justice League. You know, I'm not saying it's the
Justice.
best movie. I'm
Uh-huh.
going to call it my most enjoyed movie. And in
Yeah, man,
terms
that's
of
up there.
worst, yeah, and in terms of worst movie, I would say it has to be a tie between Tom and Jerry and
That's right.
Mortal,
That was pretty bad too. Tom and Jerry was
uh,
so
Can
bad.
I change mine?
and Mortal Kombat. Surprisingly, like that was one.
Wow.
I mean, and that's another one where I guess I had so much hope for it
Uh-huh.
that when I saw what they gave us, I was so disappointed. It
Yeah.
really destroyed that movie for me.
HBO Max.
Gotcha, man.
Yeah.
HBO Max. Oh man. And then Brandon, man, what's the one movie for 2021 that you're looking forward to the most?
I'm gonna say, shit, the one movie. Like, there's like 7 movies coming out. Oh
Yeah.
man. I would say, I mean, while I have been waiting extremely long to see Black Widow, I think right now, because of the way my mind is working, uh, I'm so excited to see what the potential of this Spider-Man movie can be. Spider-Man No Way
Spider-Man
Home.
No Way Home. Wow. Yeah. For me, man, I think it's gonna be Ghostbusters Afterlife. I think that's still coming out this summer, Ghostbusters
Oh wow,
Afterlife, or
really?
the
Oh,
Okay.
I
fall.
heard it was actually coming out on HBO Max. I'm kidding. Look at your face. See, you saw
Don't
your
do
face.
that.
I saw your
Don't do
face.
that. Because I know what you mean when you do that. So yeah, I'm still very interested in seeing Ghostbusters Afterlife. You know, with even Rittman's son doing the movie. Oh man, I think that's just gonna be like something to look forward to, man. Because that last Ghostbusters with Kristen Wiig also wasn't that great, but
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this Ghostbuster Afterlife with Paul Rudd and to see what they kind of do with it, man. So Ghostbusters. How about you, Al? What you looking forward to for this year? If you had to pick one.
And one, I would have to say Dune because I think that's still coming out this year,
Yeah, December.
and
That's
and
moving.
a theater release, like not like I think that was one of the only movies on HBO Max that they were able to get canceled from being dual, so it's just
Oh, it
movie
makes sense.
release. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, no, the company that financed that kind of pulled their weight and said, no, you're not doing that.
Yeah.
And they got them to do theater only release. But that movie, just based on the original one, how much I loved the first one,
Mhm.
and to see them modernize it, and from the way the trailers looked, looks like they did a really good job. So I'm excited about that movie.
Yeah, man, absolutely, man. And I know there's a bunch of movies we're all looking forward to. Fast Nine, Black Widow, Eternals. This I can keep going with a bunch of other movies, man. But we're looking forward to seeing all these movies and getting to you guys, talking about movies with all of you guys listening, and just giving you our reviews, our thoughts, having fun with these movies. So listen again, subscribe to us below, or if you're listening to us on the podcast app, hit that little plus symbol. That way we come up for you guys every time we put out a podcast. So coming out of Long Island, New York, we got my man of the chair Al.
Have a good night, everybody.
We got my brother B.
Peace. Don't watch HBO Max. They're
And
gonna
myself.
delete my subscription.
Yes, they are, Brandon. Yes, they're gonna cancel us too. And myself, Hobbs, saying thank you guys for listening as always. We'll be back next week with another podcast episode for you guys, and we'll see you on the next episode. Until next time.